welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Alice. I do singing and signing videos and some random things in between, which are quite often musical theatre themed, and today is another one of those musical theatre themed videos. Today is another Simeon story. I think it's my fourth one, I can't remember. But I just want to quickly, before I start, not apologise for my last Simeon story. I can't remember if that's last week on my channel or not. But just say that watching it back and thinking about it, I realised that some of you might think I came off obnoxious, or like, I don't know, but might be like, oh, she's upset because she didn't get the role she got. Grow up, you still got a role in the show. And yeah, I did still get a role in the show, but that's hard drama, because it's a drama academy, not like the actual profession. I'm just going to move over because I'm not in the shot, it's kind of annoying. Because it's like not actually the profession. It's not like we've gone in, auditioned, didn't get the role we wanted, so then it was a very unlikely chance that we'd get the role, because like in the actual business, you audition for a role, and if you don't get the role, you don't get in the show most of the time. So obviously being in the situation where to you guys it just sounds like I auditioned for a role, I didn't get the role that I auditioned for, but I got a different role, that's because my parents paid like £300 for me and my sister to do that term. No, £300 for me to do that term, I think, I can't remember. So they couldn't say, oh yeah, she doesn't get a part. I was in the show. But I'm not going to go into why I was upset, like, because I did film a video on it, but then thought I just sounded like an idiot and I was making excuses for myself. But I just wanted to come on here before I started this one and just say that it wasn't just the fact I didn't get that role, and it wasn't, like, obviously I'm grateful that I still got a role, and such a big role, and yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore, but I just wanted to preface that. Also, I have properly changed up my background now, and these are all, you can literally can't see my hand, all different musicals that I love, and it has got fairy lights on, but you can't really tell, but I love it, and I might do a video going through it all at some point. But it's amazing, and I spent like, yeah, most of yesterday and most of Friday evening doing it, but it's amazing and I love it. Right, so let's go. So we have got up to Potiphar, which is the song after Poor Joseph. No, it's not. It's the song after One More Angel, but it's the song where it's like, Joseph was taken to Egypt and chained and sold, where he was bought by a captain named Potiphar. So basically, Joseph, if you don't know the story or haven't seen my other videos, again, I will link them up there, maybe, whatever side it is, and there'll be a link to the playlist at the end of the video. But if you haven't seen those, then you won't know, and if you don't know the story, then you won't know. I do recommend watching the other ones just because some of them link to things, but yeah, so basically Joseph gets, the brothers are jealous of Joseph, and then Joseph, because of many reasons, and then they were planning on killing Joseph, but then Ishmaelites come along, so they sell Joseph to the Ishmaelites, who then sell Joseph to Potiphar, who is like a millionaire because he had put shares into pyramids or something, I can't remember. And I played his wife, so this is where it changes from being Simeon stories to Mrs Potiphar stories, but as I explained, Simeon story sounds better than Mrs Potiphar story, and also I did more as Simeon than I did as Mrs Potiphar, but I did still love Mrs Potiphar, and it was a great role to play. And as I've said before, there were two shows, and I was a lead in one show and I was ensemble in the other show. When I was a lead, I was Mrs Potiphar, and then when I was ensemble, I wasn't. I know that Mrs Potiphar, like, obviously she's a named role, and in our circumstances, all of the named roles were leads, because there aren't that many. In a way, there kind of are, but there aren't, like, hundreds. So I didn't play her when I was ensemble, even though, like, she didn't have any, like, she doesn't have many spoken, like, many lines, but I only played her once. So in the Saturday show, I was an ensemble dancer in the song. So you'll get to that in a minute. So the first one is the dance for Mrs Potiphar. Mrs Potiphar had to dance because there were a couple of dance breaks, and it was a very flirtatious dance with the person playing Joseph, and it was very awkward for me because I at the time of starting rehearsing the dance, I was 14, and the person playing Joseph was 18. By the time we did the show, I was 15, but still, it was a bit uncomfortable, and yeah, it was weird, and it was just a bit, it was a bit weird, but it was a good dance, and it was a really fun dance to do, but there was a lot of partner work and a lot of flirting on my part, and it was quite awkward for most of the rehearsal process, not practice. But then one of the moves, I ended up with my hands on Joseph's shoulders. This is really difficult to cut them hands. I look like a zombie. And he'd turn around, but we were not there at the right time at this rehearsal. I can't remember what was happening, but the rest of the group were doing singing, maybe. I think they were singing because our singing teacher wasn't there the next week. Don't know, they were either singing or blocking something with our director. And so our choreographer had like different people out doing dances. It was like, Alice, I need you for this. Oh, then Alice, I need you for this. It was great. But we were doing this Potiphar dance. And I don't know, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure from what I remember that I wasn't on the beat properly and I'd missed a move. I was like, oh my god, I need to get there. So I did it, but the person playing Joseph, I think, was where he was meant to be and was like, she hasn't done that. So he turned as I put my hand there. This might not even be what happened, but I like hit him in the face, and yeah, it was quite funny. It really hurt, but it was quite funny. But everyone was like, oh my god, are you okay? But I was so glad that nobody else was there, because that dance is so awkward anyway that I just feel really like self-conscious performing it in front of everybody else, because we're the two eldest out of everybody, like out of the whole drama lot, and the two youngest are 11, so I felt really bad like performing it in front of everybody. And then obviously I hit him in the face, so it was great that nobody was watching. So then the next one is still as Mrs Potiphar. She had this gold jumpsuit. I'll see if I can find a picture. And it was gorgeous, but it was very like not old people, but it was gorgeous and I love it, but I don't love it at the same time. And it didn't fit very well either. Like not sleeves, but because it didn't really have sleeves, but the sleeves were quite big. And also there were two people playing Mrs Potiphar, and the other person playing Mrs Potiphar was a lot shorter than me. So this is the picture that I've got on my phone. So it's not going to work. That is me as Mrs Potiphar, and you can kind of see it. It's not really doing it justice. So it's a gold jumpsuit, and it's shimmery. And I kind of felt self-conscious because I don't like having that much of my arms out at the best of times. I can't put my phone back onto charge. What on earth have I done? And we obviously had two cuff things. I think it's like one on, two cuffs on, a collar and a belt. But I was doing the show, and I had to walk from stage left to stage right, and my sleeve started falling down. Like, great. So I had to pull it back up, but because I didn't want my sleeve halfway down. So that was great. That's not a particularly interesting one, but it happened. And also, yeah, right, okay, this is right. We were meant to have a chaise longue because I was meant to be sitting there like all sexy, being like, oh, I'm amazing, like, oh, so sexy, because like Mrs Potiphar is a sexy character. It's like, I'm so wrong for this role. This is not me. But I was like, sexy. Honestly, I think the reason I got Mrs Potiphar was because I was the eldest of 4 girls. Yeah, I think that's why I got Mrs Potiphar, not gonna lie. Not because I deserved it, because I was the oldest of the 4 girls. So I was like meant to be sitting like sexily, like kind of sexy but chilled and relaxed on this chaise longue, and then we had a dance on the chaise longue, and it was like all sorts. I remember in rehearsals it was like doing the dance, and then the choreographer was like, oh yeah, and then you kind of need to push her so she gets away from you, because I'm like, I think I went in to kiss him, but he didn't want that, so he pushed me away. It's like, oh, I could teddy bear roll out of it. Bearing in mind, I was like, oh yeah, we'll be on a chaise longue, because we didn't have the chaise longue in rehearsals. We had 2 chairs, so it was really uncomfortable to sit on at the best of times. But then he pushed me, and I went, and the chair came with me, and then I fell on the floor. It was great. But we were meant to have a chaise longue, and we hadn't rehearsed with the chaise longue, and everybody was like, oh, there might be a chaise longue, there might not be a chaise longue. And there was a move where that picture that I showed you, like I ended up over the top of him, over the top of Joseph, and they were like, well, I don't know how I want you to do it because I don't know what you're going to have, but just see how you can do it with what you're working with. And we get to 2 days before the show and we're in the wings looking at like the set because we're rehearsing, and there's this like, I don't know how to describe it, but it looks like this with like a thing, and you could literally sit one person on it. It wasn't a chaise long, 2 people couldn't sit on it, and our person who was like in charge of the whole thing was like, you just have to figure out the dance so it could work, and she'd seen the dance. You can't do that dance standing up with with one of us on that thing. Like it was really weird. I don't know how to describe it. It was kind of like, it kind of looks like that with it was like a Y but with an V upside. It was weird, and it wasn't a chaise long. And then we were like, right, what the hell are we doing? And then we did that number and they brought a bench on. So we had a bench, not a chaise long, but it was better than a thing, whatever the thing was that it was quite nice, but it wasn't going to work. Right, so there are all the story times from Mrs Potiphar. So now I'm going to move on to being an Egyptian dancer. So I was also an Egyptian dancer, which meant that, well, I don't think she was on I don't know, but I was a dancer in like a lot of the numbers in both of the shows. But in this show, our choreographer had said to me, are you okay to learn the ensemble dance for Potiphar for when you're not Mrs Potiphar? I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And it was really cute. We had like canes and it was a great dance. I actually loved that dance, but I love that dance, but it was so difficult to remember because I never rehearsed that dance, because when we were doing it at I was the only one in my group doing that ensemble dance, which meant that because there were one of the people was Joseph, I was Mrs Potiphar, the other person was Jacob, 2 of the people were the baker and the butler, and 2 of the people were what are they called, guards, and then hang on a minute, I now need to think about like what maths I've just done in my head. And then there was one other person because one of them left. So there was actually one other person who wasn't in that scene as something else, but she's like one of the youngest and she wouldn't have coped with learning it. So I was the only one in our group that was in that dance, and because I was Mrs Potiphar, it meant that when we rehearsed Potiphar, we rehearsed it as Wednesdays, obviously, because we were all Wednesdays, which meant I had to rehearse as Mrs Potiphar. I think I rehearsed on a Wednesday the ensemble dance like once or twice in front of everybody, which meant that I didn't know the dance. Like there were sections of it I knew and sections of it I didn't, and because I was the only one out of my group, I didn't know where my placement was either. So on the Wednesday before the show, everybody came together, so we had the Saturdays with us, and which meant that they were going through the dance, and so we did the dance and I knew bits of it and I was picking it up, and then our choreographer went off to teach the ribbon dance and everybody else was like teaching me the dance. I was like, I don't need to know the dance, I need to know where I stand, because if I know where I am, I can copy roughly what everybody else is doing and it's okay. And I had the notes for it, so I knew like when I knew what I was doing it'd be okay, but it got to the point that it was like, oh my god, what are we doing? And it was so stressful, and there were places that I was like, oh sure, it's this, not that. So I learnt the dance 4 days before the show. 4 days before the show. That's not good. And I mean, I could have been more on top of it, but every time like I was like, can we run this, they were like, yeah, but it didn't work well, because every time I run it, I'd run it with really quiet music and my choreographer, and it wasn't staying in my head. So I tried to run it and I couldn't rehearse it at home or at school, and so it was kind of my fault, but again it kind of wasn't, and I think in future I don't want to do something like that again because it was just awkward. But because I didn't know the dance and I didn't know my positions, there were a couple of places where like, right Alice, like the position changed so much, and they're like, Alice, you're in front centre. I'm like, I'm where? I'm front centre in the dance, I have no idea what I'm doing. Great. Love that. And it also didn't help that the dance had points that it was the same as Mrs Potiphar's dance, but different. So it was like one bit we went up on the opposite leg to how Mrs Potiphar went up, and I was like, I do this wrong every time, I'm so sorry. And it got to the show and I realised that I'd done like this move, and then I went to where I'd normally go to, and then I realised that I should be in the middle. I was like, it's too late to go now, I'll just do it from here. But it probably looks really stupid. But and the last one from Potiphar is, I'm going to try and find a picture whilst I do this. We were given the most gorgeous costume, but it had sequins all up the bodice and all up the torso, which was very uncomfortable. I mean, there is a picture of it, but I don't know. I mean, I am in that picture, you just can't see. Of course you can't. It was really uncomfortable because of the sequins. I do have a picture of it, just bear with. Oh god. And it ended up that I had to wear that for, when I was on, it was a Saturday, I had to wear it for, from Potiphar for the rest of the show. So I practically had that costume on from the end of Joseph's coat all the way through to the end of the show, because that was, I had two costumes. I had my villager costume and I had my Egyptian dancer costume. But for when I was a Wednesday, I had my brother's costume, which was the same as my villager's costume, which I had on all the way till One More Angel. I did One More Angel in my brother costume, and then I had to run off stage and get changed as quickly as I could from trousers, a shirt and a headscarf and a belt and like a tunic thing into my jumpsuit, my cuff, my collar and my belt, and take my hair down so I could do the dance properly. And then I stayed in that costume till the end of Act 1, and then in the interval I had to get into my Egyptian dancer costume, and then I had to be in my Egyptian dancer costume till the end of Canaan Days, and then after Canaan Days I had to run off stage, get changed into my brother's costume and run back on stage ready for the brothers come to Egypt. But it is a lovely costume, and this picture doesn't do it justice at all. I mean, it's tilted because I like to take pictures like that. Oh god, I definitely just knocked you. Like, you literally can't see because I've decided to. I don't know if you can see, but it's got like a black skirt, and you've moved because I felt knocked you over, never mind. It's like got gold sequiny details, and then we had these head dresses as well, and it was a lovely costume, but it rubbed all up my arms to the point that I had like red scratches all over my arms the next day. It was great. It's great. And because I was dancing, I had lots of like points where my arms would brush up against it, and it was just not fun. It's not fun, but it was lovely. And the last one that I'm going to tell today, because this will be the end of Act 1, and then we've only got Act 2 to go, is from Go 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 Joseph. So I think I said this before, when I was learning One More Angel, everybody else was like recapping the dance for Go 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 Joseph and being positioned. Yeah, but because I was learning the words to my, not the words to my song, the melody to my song, I wasn't being positioned, and because everybody was in that dance, there were like nobody. It would be really difficult to position me on just a normal Wednesday, so I didn't actually get properly positioned at all in that dance, and like, it was just a case of, right, what side do you want to be on, and go on that side. And then that dance was such a shambles, because we all knew what we were doing, because we were told, oh yeah, you're going to do the dance 3 times, because the chorus would repeat 3 times. But then on like our band call, they were like, oh yeah, we're going to do the chorus 6 times, so you have to do the dance 6 times. And then everybody got really confused, because there were 2 versions of the chorus. So one chorus started like that, and the other chorus started differently. It's really helpful, I know. Go go Joseph, you know what they say. Hang on that Joseph, you'll make it someday. Shine on that Joseph, you're no fun. You're in your dream, cut ahead of your time. So the other, and then the second one started like that. Like, well, like there and went down. It's very difficult to show. But we did it the normal amount of times, and then everybody just kept starting from this one. I think again, I was like, that's not right. But I don't know if anybody else was trying to like do it right, but I was there like, that's not right, I'm gonna do it properly. But it looked so stupid. I thought it'd look really stupid if I was there doing something different to everybody else, because there were like 30 other people doing the wrong thing, and because there's that many people doing it, it looks like it's the right thing. So I didn't do that. But that was a shambles because nobody knew what they were doing. Nobody knew, well, they knew what they were doing, but it wasn't a great, it didn't end well. But I hope you enjoyed watching, and the playlist, let's do it that side because you can actually see that side, will be here. Helpfully, I just realised that where Joseph is, that's my Joseph one. There, that's quite cool. So my playlist will be here with a video, you literally can't see my hand, playlist, a video, and subscribe to my channel here. Thank you for watching. I shall see you again soon. Bye.